Preparing the live stream. Okay, we're streaming. Let's refresh. Just double checking on Facebook that we're good to go, and then we will hop right in. Let's see. And welcome everyone as we kind of get on here. All right, we are live officially. Let's do it. So let me start recording. All righty, welcome all. It is Health Coach Natalie Smith here, and I have a special guest with me, Miss Melissa Barnhill. She is our enrollment assistant, and she was a previous client, and I've always loved having her on our wellness week. So I asked her if she would love to join me today, and she graciously obliged. So thank you, Melissa, for being here with me today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yay! And today, so it is the last day of June Wellness Week. All this week, we've been talking about just different ways to involve the family into, health changes, and specifically the EPIC 5 pillars, which, as a reminder, are hydration, diet, movement, stress management, and sleep. And today, we're going to dive into the diet side of things and just chat about different ways or ideas to involve the family in the kitchen, whether that's with cooking, prepping, maybe even shopping and cleaning as well is a big piece of it. And we'll just share some different, practical ideas. And yeah, I'd love to hear, if anybody's watching, on Facebook, or maybe if anyone else joins here on Zoom. Yeah, would just love to hear your thoughts, or if you have any ideas to share too, we'd love to hear them. So without further ado, before we get into kind of the idea of, involving, our family members into just, yeah, anything that goes on in the kitchen, really, it's worth mentioning first kind of the societal norms that, we have, especially here in America. And that is that, I think in a majority of households, there's definitely kind of a shift happening there. But again, culturally, it's been one person in the household, generally kind of the mom, is doing most, if not all of the, shopping, cooking, preparing the food, shopping for the food. And again, that's not always the case, but I would say a good majority of the time, there is generally like one person in the family that kind of takes on, most of those responsibilities. And, it doesn't always have to be that way. And I think, yeah, if there's any ways that we can incorporate or involve our family members, that also is just gonna help whoever that one person is to kind of lower their burden a little bit, because that's a lot for that's a lot of things for just one person to handle. And so yeah, today we're gonna just kind of share some ideas around how we could involve our kiddos, or maybe involve our spouse a bit more in kind of that whole process. So I'm curious for you, Melissa. I know you've got some little kiddos, and just curious off the bat here, yeah, what comes to mind with maybe ways you have included your kids within just, yeah, some of the healthier dietary changes you're making. Just, yeah, tell us initially kind of
Yeah.
what that looks like.
Well, with Epic, you guys kind of taught me the why. Like, why is really important, right? So the kids aren't going to eat anything unless they know why. And I'm not going to keep feeding it to them unless I know why they don't like it or they do. Usually it's like texture and so I've implemented a lot of that, like questioning with them, and
Yeah.
kind of that gets them involved instead of like, here's your food. And then also just, we are like a family with the kids go to their other parents' house. And so discussing like what they eat there. And it sounds to me like they're just told what to eat there, which is great. But here we like to give them choices. So
Yeah.
this or that, like for lunch and stuff. But we garden, and that is neat because it's like they get to put the seeds in the ground, right? So we discuss what we're going to plant, and then they water it. I'm up here working, so they're watering it during the day, and then they grew it, so they taste it, and then usually they like it because they put all this effort into
Yeah.
growing it. So that's been
Right.
cool. And then one tip that kind of got me started on this was during the school year, talking to them about their school lunches. Like, hey, what'd you have for
Yeah.
lunch today? Because at school they get an option. And funny story, I talked to my daughter, Brooklyn, like when she was younger. What are you eating for lunch? Da da da. Before all this started, and she was eating pizza every day. If I wouldn't have asked, I wouldn't have known that she was picking pizza every day. And so
Right.
also lunch gives them, but the state is required to give them, every food group. And so discussing with them, like, what do you guys like, out of your school lunches, and then kind of going from there. So those are a couple things
Yeah.
I've done.
Oh, that's awesome. And I love, yeah, I love the gardening idea. And I know, not everyone can do that, but that is a way
Mhm.
because, they get to just get excited about the whole process and it, yeah, that's just a fun
Mhm.
family event. And also they have kind of, that sense of responsibility too. And
Yeah.
like you said, it is exciting to, you know, enjoy something that you planted and grew and took
Yes.
care of. And now you get to enjoy it to nourish your body. So win-win. I love
Yes.
it. And I think too, like you said, just it's and this is yeah, a point we can kind of build on too is, increasing your and your family's mindfulness around meals or things they enjoy. And that's one thing, like one kind of practical idea that we had down too was whether it's just opening up that conversation or maybe you have like a family rating system or a way yeah, kind of track it with each other. You don't have to track it, but really just opening up a conversation at the table. So, asking your kids, like you said, what did you like? What didn't you like? And why? Why didn't you like it? Was it just the texture? Was it, did you just not like
Mhm.
the taste? Or just getting specific on, again, why they like or don't like what they do. And I think that can be just awesome feedback. And also, yeah, I remember when, you know, I was a kid, I just had this thing against peas. I still do not enjoy them. They are just not my favorite thing. But, when I was super young, that was one of those things like, well, you have to eat your vegetables. Like, you can't,
Mhm.
yeah, basically move
Yep.
on until you eat some of those. And it was just the worst. And I wish that, yeah, I could have been able to, you know, be, yeah, just have more control, I
Options.
guess, even as a kid with, yeah, some different
Mhm.
options that I could choose from. And, um, yeah, I think that would have, opened up the door a lot younger for me to explore some different vegetables. And that's also something to consider too, is, you know, like just family routines and habits. I mean,
Mhm.
for my family, we're kind of like the meat and potatoes, kind of family where the typical vegetables are potatoes, corn, green beans, and peas. And that's pretty much it. Sometimes some asparagus, sometimes some like cauliflower and broccoli, but it was, yeah, we just didn't, that's just what we were used to. And we hadn't really had the opportunity to try to expand our variety. But yeah,
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
kids had fun like trying new
Yeah.
vegetables? Yeah, tell me about that.
They actually have, and it's interesting. Like some of the kids really like for lunch. I like to saute my vegetables, and so I had carrots and broccoli. I like to saute them, but the kids don't like them sauteed. They like them raw. Ugh, I don't like them raw. So it's like I can just give them to
To
them
each their
raw.
own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the one thing that I've started doing like in the last week is, sometimes we have pizza night or whatever. I don't partake, but I always ask the kids or kind of help them notice how they feel after their meal, and
Yeah.
then talk about that, like, because sometimes they eat too much or oh, they can't move, and that's
Mhm.
a real thing. And then so the nights that
Yeah.
we prepare healthy meals and I put some effort into it, then we kind of, oh, that's good, you feel good. Remember when we had pizza? I mean, I'm not trying to shame them, but I just say like, hey, just remember we
Yeah.
really want pizza tonight, because we don't want to feel like that after. And that is a big thing that they've kind of noticed with their bodies, like, wow, if I put too much
That's
pizza in my body, I'm
huge.
not going to be able to go swimming after or something.
Oh, that's so cool. And that
Yeah.
you're just really helping them to listen to their bodies. I
Yeah.
have talked to so many people about how, I mean, at Epic, I think that's one skill that really is just strengthened. Like it's not something that, I mean, we talk about it a lot, but I mean, of course it looks different for everyone, but that's not something that we're like really taught growing up. And just because it's common to have bloating and kind of feel just like like after a big Thanksgiving dinner, like you're just on overload and you just like need a nap and
Yeah.
it's just because it's common doesn't mean that it's normal or optimum. But again, you're creating a safe space for them to yeah, to listen to their body without feeling judged and to at least be mindful and acknowledge
Mhm.
how those foods make them feel. And I think that's so cool. That skill is going to serve them like literally for the rest of their lives. Like that is just a beautiful thing. So
Yeah.
good work,
Yeah.
Mom. Oh my
It's fun.
goodness. I love it. And I think it's cool too because, just increasing, like mindfulness at a meal too. Like you really enjoy it more, when you're there and present and you're
Mhm.
focusing and being mindful of the flavors and what you like about it. And again, I just think it's awesome that you've created a little safe space for your kids to just, have some self-discovery, figure out what they like of things they haven't tried before. So exciting. And so that's definitely one way, or especially with like the actual meals of things, just ways to like just simply get feedback from, your family members so that yeah, they do have some control, and some other ways that we can kind of incorporate our family into maybe even like the planning of things too, after you guys have, spent some time having those conversations and figuring out what you guys really enjoy. Then you can incorporate that into the planning too, and get their
Mhm.
feedback too. Like, remember last week when we had this thing? Like, how would you feel about having that? Yeah. And it can just also take more burden off of, again, that one person that generally is doing all the work, because, yeah, they just have more mindfulness on things they enjoy too, instead of just being
Yeah.
told you need to eat this. And
Well, and
yeah.
then helping prepare things in the kitchen is I kind of look at it as planting the vegetables, right? Because they're there from the beginning. Like, hey, go get that out of the fridge, go get this out of the cupboard. Now let's put it all together. And then, if they're there cooking it and learning that, then they're more apt to eat it. It's just,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's different than just here's your food, you must eat it. And the feedback I'm getting from them is that's kind of how it is at their parents' house, which is fine, but that's
Yeah.
why I want to offer them choice here, because then if they have a choice, then I know what they're going to choose. And hopefully what I've been trying to do is like find the categories that they all slide into. And there's going to be meals
Mhm.
where certain kids don't like, because we have 6 kids, so there's going to
Yeah.
be meals where some kids don't like what we have, but they're more apt to eat it because they know, hey, it's healthy, and
Yeah.
tomorrow night we're gonna have something that I like. It's, and I'm not talking the main dish. Usually everybody likes the main dish. It's like the peas, right? It's
Right.
usually the side dish where they're like, ugh. And I usually try to put a
But
couple
yeah,
vegetables out there. So
there you go. So yeah, they've got an option. And I think too, like you said, just in regard to, planning and prepping. So, if there is some, and again, I know this depends on the age and of course be safe, but I mean, even if they're not old enough to, actually cook the vegetables, maybe they can clean the vegetables, and maybe at the very least they can, watch you do it, because that's still so valuable. And again, that's just yeah, the earlier we can start teaching them different ways to prepare foods that feel good in their bodies, yeah, I think that's, a win-win for everyone. And I think too, yeah, just with little kids, like I remember some of my favorite like little kid memories are, just watching my, of course, uh maybe it was like a cake or something. So not quite Epic 5 approved, but I loved to like watch things be made, and you just get to see it blend. And of course you get to lick the beater afterwards. And,
yeah,
there's just so many different fun ways to, incorporate them, even if they can't, do anything, still get them interested by, watching you. And regardless, I mean, that's, yeah, like good modeling, you're just
yeah,
showing them kind of you know, the right way to do it, if you will.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
exciting. And I'm curious too, yeah, what other ways have you, whether it's in like the planning or actually cooking of things, like how else have you involved your kids in kind of your
Yeah.
guys' meals?
Well, I'm not super great at the planning yet. What I did for the summer,
Right.
since I'm working, is just kind of make sure that I have 5 meals, 5, 6, 7 meals, and I just kind of put them up there and say, this is what you guys can choose from this week.
Mhm.
And so I'm usually down there during lunchtime, but my middle daughter cooks it, and so basically they have like 6 or 7 different options. Everything's here, and then they can just decide that day. And they know that like if there's something they don't like, they're probably gonna have it on Friday because they're gonna have it eventually, right? So that's
Yep.
been good. And they've been doing a really good job of that. And it's usually something healthy, and I know that they all get enough. And then kind of schedule snack time for later.
Yep.
But yeah, just in the kitchen, or as far as like planning goes, I'm not super brilliant at planning, grocery shopping, all that. Cause you're right, I do it all. I mean, we take turns cooking and whoever's there. But
Yeah.
what I think has been really good is once you've narrowed down what everybody likes, just kind of repeat those meals like every 2 weeks, because I know spaghetti is not like the best thing, but everybody loves spaghetti in this house. Tacos, everybody loves tacos, and we can make it a
Yeah.
different way. So there's 2 nights out of 7. That's great, and even doing
Right.
that every week, I know that everybody loves it. And so things like that. But as
Mhm.
far as getting ready, you could always, like, for the younger ones, just have them set the table. One thing, I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard this, Natalie, but I recently heard like drinking water when you're eating is not like what you're supposed to do. It can like not be bad for digestion. So we implemented that. I don't know if it's a thing, but I read about it and I was like, well, that does make sense, right? So we've just been not putting water on the table, waiting until
Mhm.
after dinner. But yeah, just having everything set, have the kids set it up, and then afterwards everybody clean out their plates. They just had lunch down there, and
Mhm.
I went down and everything was still in the sink. It's like, guys, if we just put it in the dishwasher afterwards,
Right.
then right, when we go for dinner, everything's going to be cleaned
Yep.
up and we can just look at it. And it's neat. Personal responsibility is really kicking in with them being down there,
Yeah.
having some independent time. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I just think chopping the veg. You got to think about all the things that a mom does to prepare for dinner, like setting the table, chopping the vegetables or chopping anything. Kids can do that. For lunch, I always offer them to have a smoothie. We love the smoothies, and they
Yeah, I
actually
was
like
gonna ask
spinach.
about that.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
like spinach. Well, at the beginning they're obsessed with smoothies, and then there's nothing left for me because there's so many kids. But they do enjoy a smoothie once in a while, and that's easy
Yeah,
too. So,
right.
but yeah, just having also set up like in the fridge. I try to have everything that's healthy right there in the front,
Mhm.
like the fruits and vegetables, and then they know what they like. They can pick that instead. Like an apple will fill them up for a snack until dinner time. I'd rather
Yeah.
have them do that. And they're not super excited that I got rid of milk, but I did.
Oh, yeah.
They keep complaining about that. But yeah, I just think the
That's all
prep
right.
part, yeah, prep part, just
Mhm.
everything that's involved in meals, just think what you can outsource to what age kid. And it
Yeah.
really is
Kinda
much more simple.
right.
One thing I do want to say is explain why. Because if you explain why to your kids you want them to help,
Yeah.
that's just been the key thing for me is, instead of do this, do that. I mean, nobody wants to just be told what to do. And so
Yeah.
to make it a more family thing, and like, hey, can you do this? Because, your sister's going to do this and you guys are all going to do, and then we're all going to have meal together. So
Mhm.
it's been really nice doing it that way. And it's actually helped me a lot. And I'm not as stressed about it anymore. As long as I know what we're going to have for lunch or dinner, I
Right.
know that everybody's going to help. So it's great.
Mhm. Oh, that's so good. And yeah, I think like you said, there's so many moving pieces in there, but yeah, there's definitely some things that can be delegated,
Mhm.
just to take a little bit of the burden off of, that one person, and just some ideas too on, ways to incorporate the family even into the shopping of it. Of course, kind of the planning sort of goes along with that. So getting sort of like a recipe toolkit, if you will, finding out what you guys enjoy, yeah, and of course, yeah, it's a little different when you do have a bigger family, but building that toolkit, figuring out those things that are, kind of like staples or things that you can kind of repeat, in the week. But I know some people just crave more variety than others, but some people just like to, have sort of the same thing every week, which
Mhm.
either way, totally fine. Um,
Yeah.
but in terms of shopping, even if the kids are coming along, maybe they can help before you go shopping, just like giving some ideas of some vegetables or maybe some fruit that they want, or just again giving them the opportunity and the space to share ideas and try new things. And I think Misfit Market comes to mind within this too, because um I from yeah, just some experience with a client. She had chatted with her family about it and asked the kids. So if there are people that aren't familiar with Misfit Market, I'm not sure I don't know if it's available all across the US. I know it's here in Iowa and I think the surrounding areas, but not sure, because we have a lot of people that are kind of all over the country. So maybe check into that. But Misfit Market, regardless, you get to choose kind of the size of box you want, and then you get to choose like they have a list of vegetables that they have. They have some other things too, but it's primarily vegetables. And you can choose, they have fruit too, I believe. But you can choose, yeah, each week, each time you get a box, you get to choose what goes into it. And, it's a little bit different every week, or it can be if you want it to, but that could be a great opportunity for, the kids to get excited about trying something new too, because, they got to pick it out. And I know there's, yeah, there's some, funky looking vegetables out there, but, if it gets them excited and willing to try some new things, then again, think that could be a win-win for the whole fam bam.
Yeah,
So,
and what's cool about Misfit Market with my family is the kids is every parent knows kids like surprise things, like surprise
Mhm.
boxes or whatever. It's the rage
Yep.
right now. Well, honestly, like it really Misfits Market is kind of a surprise box. I mean, it's a huge box. It comes to your door. It's for the whole family. You get to
Mhm.
open it, and then oh my gosh, usually they forgot what they ordered, or oh, I got
Right.
these apples, or I got these pears, and oh my gosh, they gave us so many. And it really is like a it's at the door, bring it in, big family experience. And then I usually have them all try their stuff then, because otherwise, kind of lose the whole
Right.
excitement. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, they'll try it then. And the fact they got to pick it out. And then when I used to take them to the grocery store with me, I did daycare. I would take all the kids, and I would always teach them, because I learned this a long time ago, that we shop the perimeter, right? Like the
Mhm.
perimeter of the grocery store, because the inside's kind of where all the packaged stuff is, and we were trying to
Yeah.
stay away from that. Also, just giving them their own cart. Like Fairway has the little
Mhm.
carts, so I
I
have so
love
many
those.
pictures. Yeah, pictures of the little kids, and then they can, can you get me this, or can you go over there and get me that? Getting them involved, and then actually like having a list, and one kid could hold the list and mark the things up. It really helps. It's just like being in the kitchen, right, and having the help. I mean,
Having some
it's a
little
little
helpers.
chaotic, and you wouldn't want to do it every time,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I always thought it was
Yeah.
fun. I don't like grocery shopping,
Yeah.
so it was fun to have them with me. But that
Mhm.
that Misfits Market box has been totally awesome. Everybody loves it, and
Cool.
we chop up the vegetables as soon as we get them too, right away, because then I'm more apt to use them. That's what I discovered after the first couple
Right.
boxes. So yeah, I
Yeah,
like that.
I would say that. Yeah, I would agree just from, experience to that. Yeah, it's and even from personal experience. Um, yeah, the vegetables and fruit tend to get they have a higher likelihood of being eaten if they are cleaned and prepared kind of right when you get them home, because the longer they just sit waiting, the more you look at it every time you go in the fridge or whatever, and you're like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, I just need to cut that so I can eat it.
Yeah.
So might as well, while you've got the extra hands, just get it taken care of, and then they're ready to go for the rest of the week or whenever you need them. So love it. And just yeah, kind of just sharing some more ideas here. There's one idea that Dan and I have talked about, and it's just kind of a way for kids and families, not just kids, definitely. I mean, I've done this by myself too, but um we don't have like a technical term for it, but we've just kind of called it like the spice and herb buffet. So it's sort of a way to just kind of experiment as a family. So there's a couple different ways to do it. We could just on maybe like a cookie sheet or some kind of platter. It could be raw or cooked. Just lay out a variety of vegetables or maybe a couple different vegetables, and then you can like kind of put them into little sections and flavor each section differently. And then you guys have 3 to 5 or however many different spices you want. You guys can all try the different spices, again just really figuring out what you actually enjoy. And then that gives you, again, just more opportunity for experimentation and freedom of flavoring too. So whether you season them beforehand, for like roasting them and you want to do the whole olive oil and seasoning thing. Otherwise, you also can, just cook them, and right before you put them in your mouth, just add whatever seasoning on there. And that can just be a kind of a just a weird, fun way to experiment with different flavors and figure out, what kind of
Yeah,
spices
I
and herbs you enjoy.
I like that. It's funny that you mentioned that, because Liam, he calls himself a spice king, because he tried salt and pepper, and he really liked that. So he's a pepper king for a while, and then he just like got interested by himself. He's like, I want to try different spices, and so we have like a spice rack, and so we said, well, go ahead and what we knew would taste good on something, right? Because again, he wasn't super excited about the vegetables. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just different ones that we said, well, this, and this. And we set them out there and oh man, we have 4 spices now that he uses all the time. And so don't be, I guess, give them the option, but like slow, because none of the other kids have taken on to that. It's just him. He loves
Gotcha.
it.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool that he did that. He asked on his own and he's just like, I want to flavor this stuff up. And it's
That's
really cool to
sweet.
watch because the other kids
Yeah.
know now what they can try. They're just hesitant to try it.
Hey, and yeah, change is rarely a super quick, easy
Mhm.
process. So, I'm sure they'll yeah, come around to it if and when they're ready to. But regardless, it sounds like Liam's having a lot of fun with the extra
Yeah.
spices. And has he tried garlic powder yet?
Oh yeah, he started
Is
with
that a
garlic
main one?
powder. Yep, that's
Yep.
what everything was seasoned with before. And then he's gone to like oregano. He uses on like anything Italian usually.
Yep.
And then
Hmm.
I don't know. He's got a couple other ones down there, and it's like
Yeah.
we talked to him about like onion powder, like what you can use for certain things, and then we just put a whole bunch out there, and he just kind of used different.
Goes
He
for
used
it.
things. Well, he did use some stuff on different food that really wouldn't taste good, but he liked it. So it's kind of like that cilantro thing, like either like it or you don't.
Yep.
He found some really good combinations that I was shocked that he liked.
All right. Well, look at him go. Again, that's just,
Cool.
that's exciting for him. Yeah, to just again
Mhm.
learn more about, you know, what he really does enjoy in terms of flavor. And yeah, I think that's one area that I was definitely lacking as I started cooking was just, I mean, my go-to are is salt and garlic powder, and I really do actually like there's like just different seasoning blends, like even the Italian seasoning blend. It just also just takes some of the thinking out of it because I don't have to combine a bunch of different ones. I can just put that blend on there. They even have
Mhm.
like a vegetable seasoning blend. They have just so many different kinds of blends out
Oh,
there.
the
But
everything but the bagel or that
yep.
stuff is everybody likes that here too, which I think I heard from you guys, and everybody
Yep.
here loves it. So that stuff is great. They like it on
Yeah.
everything.
It
It's
is
neat.
all the rage. Yeah, it
Mhm.
is everywhere, and that is a super popular one. I like that one too. But yeah, and it's really again today we're just sharing some ideas and hopefully you guys yeah find some encouragement or just yeah maybe inspired to try some new things as well. And I think that's the cool thing about yeah, incorporating the family is it doesn't have to like your whole like diet plan doesn't have to change over one night. Like, you're learning more about what you enjoy and getting creative with trying new things and becoming, more curious and helping your kids become more curious about different flavors and different, types of food. And yeah, I know not, for every family it's not uh yeah, there's just not always a variety in a lot of family meals, but um yeah, it can be extra fun. And I'm glad you've enjoyed, incorporating your kids how you have. And
Yeah.
I know too that like you said, it's definitely taken some stress off of you to, do just everything, like you said.
Yeah, and one other cool thing is the older kids, they're on TikTok, and so they get
Yep.
recipes off there. I'm sure everybody did the what is it?
Yep.
Basil, tomato, and it's pasta, something else, but we did that and we actually incorporated
Oh,
that. It's so good, but the older kids come with the TikTok things. Can we try this? I'm like, yeah. So I was thinking once a
I
week
love
or
it.
once a month, we might incorporate like, hey, you guys want to find a recipe? It's your week to
Mhm.
find a recipe. And then, you know what I mean? Kind of like showcase that
Yeah.
kid that night. And then they help make it,
Mhm.
serve it, and then we rate it. It's kind of, I don't know, there's not many moments during the day when we all get together and get to spend time together. So
Mhm.
we always do like, what was your favorite part of the day? Type talk and at the table, but like, I mean, preparing the meal together and having one person pick out the meal and cook it. I think that's going to be really fun because then we have something else to
Yeah.
talk about during dinner. You know?
Right. No, that'd
Yeah.
be super fun. And I even envision like you could have like a little whiteboard or something, and just as they find recipes, they can write it down. And then if, one day you're just, looking for something new, you could say, okay, we've got, these options that you guys found within the past week or so. Like, let's
Nice.
pick one and do it for dinner tonight. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's so awesome. And TikTok TikTok has everything. They have
They do.
so many different recipes and stuff. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's definitely along with, Google. And also, yeah, this is something that we talk about in the detox workshop, but a simple way to find recipes that are closer to Epic 5 would be to use the key term or keywords Whole30 and or AIP. Those are two different types of meal plans that are really close to Epic. They're not quite the same, but regardless, using those, you can just type like AIP lasagna recipe or whatever it is, and that'll at least filter your search to, not have things like dairy and grains. And um, I believe AIP is a bit more strict on like nightshades and different things like that. But regardless, again, it'll bring you closer to, a more, on plan recipe.
Mhm.
So yeah, just wanted to throw that little idea out there too. But we're coming close to the end here. And before we kind of share our question slash challenge of the day, I want to double check on Facebook, make sure there's no comments there. We're good. But yeah, Melissa, also thanks again for joining me. I'm curious, do you have any, parting thoughts or words of encouragement for yeah, any of the people watching this now or later?
No, I just think you can make it fun. I try to make, everything fun. Things that aren't always fun, like cooking.
Yeah.
And, for moms, it's kind of like a, ugh, well, the kids, well, I know for my mom, we would always say, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? And she'd go, ugh. But, it's kind of like when they ask me, it's like, well, what do you guys want for dinner? Here's your
Right.
options. Now let's pick it and let's make it together. And so teamwork makes the dream work. I say that a lot, but it's true. It feels more like, it just feels more like a family thing and involvement and just everybody together. You're all going to eat your meal together. It's just nice to, and also one thing, the grill too is really cool for like the kids, maybe 10 and above, just to kind of show them how to use the grill, not by themselves, but just have them watch you because eventually you're going to want them to be grill masters, right? Like,
Right. Don't we all want to be grill masters someday?
yes.
I love it. No, but that's a good point. And just, yeah, kind of challenging the potential traditions that have been in place, because again, it's a lot of responsibility for one person to have to plan every single meal every single day. It is a lot. Like that overwhelms me thinking about doing it just for myself, let alone a family of, you know, yeah, multiple people. And so if there's any way that we can incorporate our family and get them curious, get them excited about, helping plan things or helping, cook, or even again just watching you. And yeah, go for
And
it.
then one thing too is, I'm, well, my focus is like breaking patterns lately. And so
Yeah.
one cool thing that you were saying at the beginning of this is like how moms or dads always do that and the kids just show up for the meal. Well, if you think long term, you're teaching your child to how they're going to be in the future, right? So they're going to
Right.
probably choose somebody that wants to have this whole family thing going. And then also you think about your child when they grow up, they're gonna be like, oh, how do I do this whole meal prep thing? Like, I feed my kid, not so much like that, but I mean, they're gonna have
Yeah.
this memory of, oh, we all did it together, and then they're just automatically gonna include their family because
Mhm.
that's what they did as a child. So for me, it's a little bit
Yeah.
harder. I have to relearn it, right? But if we're teaching our
Right.
kids now, they're gonna have a much closer starting point to, oh yeah, this is what we do. We work out together and we cook together. So
Yeah, you guys
it's a
doing
long
Just
term.
Dance as a family. I know,
Yeah.
I love it. But no, it's good. And I mean, it's amazing skills for them to learn as early as possible, because again, as they
Mhm.
get older, they're gonna, feel more confident with all they can do in the kitchen. And if they, kind of, I mean, I was taught some in high school, but I wish I would have made more of an effort to learn more, because, when I
Mhm.
moved away into college, and I know this is a lot of people's experience too, the first time you move out of the house, it turns into, ramen and mac and cheese almost every night. And it doesn't have to be that way. So
Very
if
true.
you're, building up those skills now, that's only gonna, they're only gonna continue to build on that knowledge as they get older. And again, just have more confidence when they are ready to go out on their own in the real world. And, they'll have those tools and skills kind of just ready to go. So I love it. Well, beautiful. Thank you again, Melissa, for, it's just always nice to have your input and your feedback. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here. And
Thank
thanks
you.
to all who have, joined our wellness week this week. we have also just a heads up too. Every day this week, we've had a question of the day, and all you have to do is comment on that post kind of the answer to that question. And yeah, I will be sending out the guides from the week. So answer that question of the day and I will send you the guide for that day. So make sure to go back and answer the other questions and I'll send you all the guides. And so the question for today is, what could be a next step in getting your family involved with meals? If you're not sure, who do you know that you could reach out to learn from within this area? So, whether that's a friend, a colleague, someone in your family, even someone on this team, always feel welcome to, make a post if you need some help or some ideas. We have almost, actually, let's see how many people we've got in our group now. 4.4 4,000, about 4,400 people. I guarantee there's someone in this group that has an idea or can help you in some way, including, of course, our team too. But yeah, just encourage you guys to, get creative and curious about the different things we can try and the different ways we can, yeah, help our family get more involved in kind of that whole process of cooking, planning, all that fun stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week. And yeah, just again, thanks for being here. And we will catch you guys yeah, later. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks again and bye.